It's recording.
Okay. So I'm Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Parker Mason. I'm the battalion commander here at Webb City High School. And for our continuous improvement plan, we chose the topic of communication because that's what we struggled with the most in the last few years. Okay, and my role in that is to pass information from myself down to the company commanders, CSM, and to the XO as well to help guide the battalion in the correct direction.
Hello, I'm Cadet Command Sergeant Major Wilson, and my role in the battalion is to keep the morale within the Corps of Cadets and to check on their general appearance, and then I communicate with the battalion commander and first sergeants.
So what was your role in the continuous improvement program?
My role in the continuous improvement, like what do I communicate with or what I do?
Well, yeah, you can get communicated.
Yeah.
Because your improvement project was to improve communication. Your role as a guy, person with all the stripes on it is pretty cool.
I make sure that they are communicating and talking.
Okay.
Good morning, I am Cadet Major Chamberlain. My role here is, as the executive officer, is to communicate with the battalion commander, as well as staff to plan and coordinate events for JRTC.
Okay.
My role in the continuous improvement project was also to communicate with staff, making sure that our project and our slides were getting complete on time in a timely manner and fashion.
Okay.
I am Captain Cassie Keys, and I am the S1. And as the S1, I have the job of the administration officer. And as the administration officer, I deal with the cadet personal information and mentality.
I'm Cadet Captain Jenner. I am the S2 or security officer. I am in charge of the events and other projects that have happened. I do a safety brief or I do inspections of safety concerns throughout of it. If any cadets get hurt or injured throughout any events that the RTC does plan, I do take care of them. We do first aid and things like that. The other things that an S2 is in charge of, as well as assistance, is a monthly rifle inspection. And then there's also the bi-weekly system item check for the S5 and their equipment.
Okay, so did you play a role in the continuous improvement project?
Yeah.
Or was it? Well, you had to communicate. I mean, you're part of the staff, right?
Right.
So you get instructions from the XO, you got to make sure those.
Right. Pretty much like if anything arises, like, and that correlates to what the S2 has to do, I'll carry on the message to my assistants and if need be to the cadets.
Okay.
I am Cadet Major Pope. I am the S3. I am the operations officer. I'm in charge of planning, training, and operations.
Okay.
My role within the Corps Cadets and Battalion is to communicate with the XO to get the needed information to set up the events such as the military volunteer picnic and drill meet, and then communicate down to my assistants so that we can work effectively to get the events complete.
When's your military ball?
We have not set a complete date, but it will probably be around April or May.
See, April 31 seems to be a popular day. I don't know what day, is that Friday?
We wouldn't do ours, you know.
You wouldn't do yours then?
We would do ours, I believe, earlier in the year, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm Cadet Captain Joseph. I'm the S4 logistics officer. I do the inventory and supplies for the battalion. XO communicates with me saying I need a certain amount of this supply. I get that certain amount of supply, make sure it gets to point A to point B, and back to the supply room so that we have this point. That is also kind of like the role in the CIP as well.
Good morning. I'm Cadet Captain McGinnis. I'm the S5. As the S5, I'm I'm in command of public relations. I take photos of the junior ROTC events. I also work with a local newspaper, the Sentinel, and I work on my own newsletter. My role in the CIP is to make sure that all of the information is passed and flowed through the chain of command, and to make sure that parents also as well know the information. Those are all of the staff rules.
So like I mentioned before, our goal we were trying to improve is our communication. You guys may struggle, but because CSM brought it up that motivation, morale were down because communication was struggling.
Yeah.
And so cadets were affected. And some of the areas that we looked at when we were searching for this project was where is it going wrong? And these are some of the areas that we found that there were problems from the staff, among staff, because some people, it's difficult to get along when you're forced from working alone to having to work through people. And there were some struggles at first and a few arguments. So that did hinder our staff performance towards the beginning. So we worked to fix that a bit. Then staff to company. It was difficult to do because some information would be done on the staff side and we wouldn't communicate down to the company. And so they would have some resources that were done, but they didn't know it's available to them.
How often does your staff get together and have a meeting?
As of right now, we do once a month for grade. And then if we have an event like this coming up, it wouldn't be uncommon, we'll have another meeting or two once a week to try to get more done. And then for company to platoons was no struggle because some hours don't have a company commander or first sergeant in their class. And so sometimes information would be skipped or missed and it caused some classes to not get that information at all.
So some data we gathered to confirm that communication is broken is staff and leaders that don't show up to the meetings because they're not using their chain of command.
So they don't know when the meeting is, or they just not going to it?
Yeah, they know, like, they don't know when it is because they're not telling anybody.
Okay.
They're not using their communication. And then also, yeah, so for example, the Wednesday morning meetings that we have, no one knew because they didn't use their chain of command. Also, they would get frustrated, confused, and they would lose motivation because no one showed up.
Right.
And then there's also people sharing information, and then, but they don't tell them that that information is there, so they don't know.
So like the shared drive, the shared document.
Yeah.
What's on that shared document?
Like, R2, we had, the platoon sergeant had a shared document for PT because it was in the F-21. And he said he shared it with the platoon, but nobody knew it was there. And then leaders not having enough time to prepare, so telling them the day before the meeting. So that was some data we got.
All right.
So this is specific in our battalion schedule, and we decided that realistically, communication should be at 80% effectiveness in our battalion. And we wanted to involve the whole battalion, which is why we are using some of the methods that we're using now. And we also wanted to improve communication because we wanted the battalion to work better as a team.
Right. Which you can only do if everybody knows what's going on.
Alright, so we did aim for measurable. One of the things that we did was, so how can you really measure the knowledge being passed down accurately and with certainty? So a few of the things that we did was hold like a spreadsheet. Like they would click on the answer and be like, about certain questions. And there's also a test that we did, like bring your cadets shirt to school on Monday and to see how many cadets would wear it.
Okay.
But
That's interesting. That's a good idea.
It was just the few things to see if like there's a certain amount, like where is it stopping at and how so and what can we do to fix it.
Okay. So you examined the flow of communication, trying to figure out where the log jam was. So was the log jam at Cadet Turner, or was it Cadet Martin, or was it the XA? I'm just kidding, I'm messing with you. Okay, good.
This is the aim of the County of Marshall Sanctuary Kingdom.
Okay.
The reason we need to detain is because we have set up a series of resources such as our surveys and the ARs and, the little things we do like this T-shirts to help us manage and identify the areas that need improvement. While it may never reach like 100%,
Right.
due to the fact because people have different multiple intelligences, some see pictures and won't understand it, while others have more verbal mentality. And it's not like completely easy because we have to be coordinated and understand the knowledge ourselves.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. So one of the ways you measure how well your communication was working is you do a test and said, everybody bring your left shoe to work today, or to school today. And then you just check to see how many people got to work. And then you're always gonna have people that just don't do it, right? So you gotta kind of factor that in. That's good, that's good. I like that. Okay. Well, in this case, it was the teacher.
Yes.
It was our cadet teacher.
The teacher.
So the R total stands for relevant. Goals relevant because it's the goals focus, what's ahead, communication, loss. As well as on goal for the battalion suit because needed, communication needed, all that OGC. This goal will help the cadets to improve communication with platoons and companies so that cadets will know what's going on with the teacher. They know that they need to bring the teacher on the slide. This goal will help the battalion pursue larger, more important goals on higher levels, brigade goals that we get in the program of ours as a whole. We're willing to commit to achieve this goal because we need to improve the communication or as an overall
Yeah.
process.
Okay, so back to the 80% number.
Yes.
80%, so you took that survey after the T-shirt thing, did you make the 80%? Did 80% of the people, was that how you measured it? 80% of the people bought their T-shirts?
You did not.
Well, I mean, but is that how you would have done it? Had you done it?
Yes.
We did not get numbers we hoped for whenever that happened.
Oh, you did?
No.
And that's okay, so you still got a project going.
And that's identifying where our problems are.
Right. So the log jam, you haven't figured out where it's breaking down at yet.
We've found the plug yet.
The log jam, okay. All right.
T is for time bound. Our goal to achieve the 80% is January 2018. We need time to figure out exactly where it is, and we need time to prepare our incoming seniors, our staff, for what's going to happen and where they should look. We need to gather all of our information and put it all in one place.
So so you did one test with the T-shirts.
We also created a survey that we handed out to all of the corps cadets.
Right. And then what the survey talked about?
The survey talked about what the cadets themselves thought about communication, how effective was it, and do they participate in a big role of communication.
And then did it ask them what suggestions for how to improve it?
Not at this point in time. We want to get more input later on in the years after they go through more of the curriculum, understanding how communication affects everything.
Which we have it linked in later in a few slides, so you'll be able to
Gotcha.
see the questions we ask.
Okay.
Through this whole CIP, we've been looking in the cadet resources such as the LET 4 book on page 50. We found a diagram that we thought really put communication into a really simplified version. But we also found it in the LET 1 book on page 228. On this diagram, we found message, encode, transmit, decode, and the feedback from the person. And basically what this means is I'm going to give a scenario of a let one. A let one has left a piece of their clothing in the locker. They have to go to their team leader using the chain of command and ask for permission to go to the locker.
Yeah.
So the let one asks his team leader, may I go to the locker to get my uniform? And his team leader in the encoding phase has to figure out what is that let one trying to do. Are they actually trying to go get their uniform or just go and have fun? But in that encoding phase is really important because it can break off right here if they don't use proper wording. Because if they go on a whole spiel, I left it at here, but I was also here, then that team leader is thinking, well, it might not be in his locker, and he's just going to be wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
So once he finally transmits the message to the team leader properly, the team leader is going to have to think, well, am I going to have to go to the chain of command to my platoon leader, platoon sergeant, to see to go to the locker, because that's him leaving the classroom. And in this decoding stage, he's going to be thinking, what can I do to help my cadet so he can be successful with communication? He's going to finally get feedback to his cadets saying, let's go up to the chain of command and I'll talk to first sergeant eventually to see if we can go get your uniform and fix it. In this next one, we have our timeline. Our timeline is very important from January to February. We want to observe staff because we are a smaller group with a lot more educated in the curriculum cadets, allowing us to figure out where our log is jamming and see what we can improve here. And once we find out what's wrong with ours within our time bound, we are going to move on to the company leadership from February to March. The reason we want to do this is we want to take what we've learned with staff and put it towards the company. If their problem isn't fixed by what we fixed on ours, then we have multiple situations that we have to fix and correct, and coming up with different ways. From March to April, we want to go to the platoon leadership. In the platoon leadership, we have a lot more cadets. There's your team leaders, squad leaders, and your let ones. In this area, we have a lot of important people that will be eventually moving up into our positions. We want to make sure by that time, we have communication on a lockdown with the staff and the companies, making sure all information is handed down properly and executed in a timely manner. After this has happened, we can finally get our platoons evaluated and see where their communication's at. After that, we want to do, in April to May, we want to do team building exercises. Because ROTC is not just ROTC, we are a family of individuals that come together to motivate young people to be better citizens. Once our team building exercises are complete, we hope that everyone is a good friend, buddies, and everyone's having a good time. Because ROTC, we want to have fun, but we want to get stuff done.
Yeah.
From November to December, we are going to be preparing and making sure that communication is effective in our year, but also passing it on to the next generation, making sure that they do not have the same problems we have.
We haven't reached our first milestone yet, like you said, it's in February, but we are going to communicate all the way down to the let ones by surveying what they think, if we made the goal, if it was successful.
Survey by survey. So what are some of the critical, you have to have you're trying to communicate, you're trying to make sure the information gets from the lieutenant commander all the way down to whoever.
Level.
Yeah.
Barry, come to the office. Okay, what's important, what are the two things that you really have to do all the time?
We have to make sure the message is staying the same because
Yeah.
a lot of people talk differently. They use different words.
Consistency. right?
Consistency.
Okay, what else?
That's the information is right.
Yeah, it's right.
In a timely manner.
Yeah, and you do it, it goes along with consistency. You do it the same way every time, so you have a process. Do you have a bulletin board?
We have boards, yes, that we write on.
Okay, you put stuff on there, and then, I don't know, check it a couple times a day or whatever. Okay.
Okay. And for next JPA or in the next 3 years, we hope to have made stricter deadlines. The reason why we need stricter deadlines is because if we're being flamboyant on our timelines, then things aren't going to be completed in time, pushing things back, which means we don't have enough time to coordinate, plan, and communicate it properly to our cadets, giving little Jimmy time to tell his parents that no balls next week. We need to give them time where it's like 2 months from now, 3 months from now, so little Jimmy can ask a girl out to the dance, and that girl has time to go get a dress so that she can have fun. And
What if he has to ask 2 or 3?
That's so beautiful.
That never happened to me, I'm just saying.
And also,
4 or 5.
4 or 5. And with staff, communication also goes down to delegating our jobs down to our assistants. In my case, when I was the S3, I didn't delegate stuff down. I was stressing myself out, trying to do everything myself. And I wasn't taking the time to go to my assistants and say, hey, can you help me with this? I didn't take time because I wanted to do it myself. And that was bad. And also having a plan to stop arguments, saying we need to do it this way instead of this way, when we can collaborate together to make a center path that's more direct and better than what we have.
So our goal is still ongoing, like we mentioned earlier, is the long-term goal. It will be going to generate financing. And like our goal is still under communication. But here's some things that we're going to do next semester, try to improve it. To try to keep it getting better instead of just stopping here and saying, okay, we're going to do this. But for staff, for supporting staff, I have one of our boards and staff room actually just write all the deadlines down on that. Because we were given tons of tasks by first sergeant at times, and because we didn't write them down and we lost track of them, never did them. I mean, we lose track of deadlines, we wouldn't do stuff. And then to keep a written record of progress, because some staff have had assistants come in and they'll go to do something that needs to be done when it's either already completed, or they'll take the paper that was what that thing was going to be and throw it away, or it'll get moved, and it stops progress. Then just have weekly meetings. We talked about it last semester, said we were going to, never did. We were going to have weekly meetings just to sit down, talk out our problems, and get everything accomplished. Then for staff to their companies, just have a written to-do list for them as well, because there were many things to do that occasionally didn't get done. Then weekly meetings just when some of the higher-ups to talk how their companies are doing, get some feedback on how things are. And then the surveys, have more of those, and send them down to see what the cadets think, what the leaders think, see a poll of how things go. And then for the platoons, have deadlines for the platoons, because they don't always have stuff to do when they do. They might not know it or know when they need to have it done. Then just the schedule of PT, because PT is one of the things we do here. Every class day, it's not a uniform day.
Right.
And people will be doing some exercises that aren't in the PT manual. And so for that, there's no set document to base how to do the exercise off of, so it causes confusion. So that will fix a lot of communication errors for PT anyway with that. And then just use the correct chain of command, because a lot of cadets, what they'll do is they'll have a buddy that's in a higher position or something like that, and they'll go to them instead of their team member, squad leader, or whatever is above them. And then the EXO is going to show the data from the
It may take a little while.
Surveys.
Wi-Fi doesn't work so well sometimes. Alright, this is our first question. How do you think communication between you and your leaders are? A lot of our cadets are saying it's just around average. Average isn't good enough for ROTC. ROTC is made to make better people. If we're just average, then we're just the regular Joe. We're never regular, we always strive for better, and be better, we must communicate better. Some people are also saying it's very weak, and weak. Communication being weak hinders us from processing and applying and having better tasks, as well as doing fun events such as our canoe trip. Canoe trip sounds simple and easy. We go, we get in a boat, and we raft down a river. It's not that simple because we also need our S2 to do his communication over safety, because that river, it can do what it wants. It's nature. So we need a safety brief from him. We need to make sure that every cadet is trained properly on how to row a canoe, because if you're both rowing the same way, it doesn't always work out. Alright, number 2. How do you think communication between you and your leaders is going? A lot of them, again, are saying average, just average. And if it's just average, that means some message could be lost, and that message could be very important. We need that to be improved at least by 80, because at 80%, then one person will realize that person's off track, and they communicate together and bring everybody back onto the same road. Okay, question 3. Do you think you play a big role in communication? Now this is very important, because average is not the leading factor in this as much. Some people are saying it's very weak to strong and strengthened. And everyone, from LEP 1 to LEP 4, assistant, the XO, the first sergeant, everyone plays a big role in communication. Everyone is important, and everyone has a good idea. Some people have better ideas than others, that's true. But every idea can come up with a better proposition, to have a better event, have a better timeline. And everyone can help communicate with their teams, their friends, and say, hey, we have this event tomorrow. Or hey, this event is coming up, and we should probably get ready and have shaving cream and stuff ready. And this question right here, this is more my fault. It's my fault in communication, so it's kind of ironic to use this. Can you yourself affect communication with your leaders? I shouldn't have used the same very strong to very weak. I gave this to my S1 to create, but I didn't tell her to change this part. I didn't communicate it with her well enough to change the wording on this so the question itself made sense. And that's how communication is very important, because this whole question is now void because of that. And how important is communication? And this is where we get a different point. The very strong is very on top. Everyone thinks communication is important. And for those people who didn't think communication is important, we still see those little parts where they don't think it's as strong as it should be.
So for everything we encounter in JRC, we're told to kind of envision it like this diagram here. There's a leader who knows the situation, but the way you also communicate the situation is different for everything you'll encounter. Because no two things you can handle exactly the same, or you'll never, every situation you face can't be solved the same exact way. It's not possible. And also the people you'll be working with will be different. You won't always have the same people. And so the way you'll have to react based on the situation of your followers, and then the response still goes back to you, will vary from each situation. And these arrows here that are pointing represent communication. So the leader will have to look at the situation and determine what's the best way to go about this to communicate to followers. But if followers not doing well, if they've got some problem communicating up to the leader, then they'll have to try to reevaluate new ways to deal with the situation. And so it's just continuous communication. And then as the things the leader must provide is purpose, direction, motivation. The leader knows the purpose of why they're doing that task, activity, or solve that situation. But in order to solve that situation, the followers do need direction from that leader on the way to go to do it. And then from the followers, they're the ones that provide the motivation to get the job done. And then for this last slide, me and the XO here will take any questions that you have.
Okay. Now, did we do any reflection on this whole thing yet? Or was that, it's not done yet?
No, since it is a long-term goal and our goal expands until at least next JPA, our achievements haven't happened yet, so there's no reflection that can happen until we at least hit our first milestone.
Okay. Now, I don't really have any questions. I would say good job, though. That's a good briefing.
Thank you, sir.
You know, you met all the, you had a problem, you showed me how you arrived at the problem, and you showed me how you were gonna measure the extent of the problem, and then how you were going to measure your progress towards fixing the problem. So, pretty much hit it all. So, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. What's next?
We're gonna take a little bit of break. We can
Good.
reconfigure. If
All right.
you're an assistant staff member,